Welcome to the Fourth Branch program. Glad you can make it. I am MD. This program is dedicated exclusively for those with common sense, a spirit of patriotism, and a determination for a more perfect union. Stay tuned as we begin the discussion of a very important, interesting, and enlightening topic. Hope to hear from you soon. Happy listening. Dwight Eisenhower, the 34th President of the United States, said that a people that values its privileges over its principles soon loses both. Ignorance is the biggest threat to any democracy. It is, however, the ignorance of the ignorance which represent the greatest danger to a society. It is what turns an ignorant man into a lunatic. Thus lies the danger, the peril even of a man, a community, a state, a country, and yes, even a society. John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, said, "The ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of us all." Indeed, it does. We've seen it, have we not? We've witnessed it. We are all living it, are we not? All men are born ignorant. Many have chosen to stay and live in ignorance. Only a few realize that the ignorance is indeed the root and stem of all evil and choose to be ignorant no more. Hello everyone, I am MD and this is the Fourth Branch program. First, a warning. This program is not suitable for all audiences. I repeat, the content of this program is not for everyone. To find out if it's suitable to you, answer the following two questions. Question number one, would you entrust your teenage daughter to a known rapist? Question number two, would you have a known pedophile cared for your toddler? Once again, would you entrust your teenage daughter to a known rapist? And question two, would you have a known pedophile cared for your toddler? time is up, obviously. If you had difficulty answering either question, this program is not for you. If you answer yes to either or to both questions, this program is definitely not for you. But if both of your answers are absolutely not, this program is catered exclusively to you. You should stick around. It is enlightening, educational, informative, and there is much to learn. Be right back. Join me here on the fourth branch at 10:30 a.m. every Saturday. And every weekday at 2 p.m. This is the fourth branch.
Common sense in a world of chaos.
This program will resume in just a moment. For the past few weeks, we have been talking about a very sensitive topic: welfare. The welfare program has been one of the most controversial in the United States. Although many countries in the world, especially rich and industrialized countries, their governments have realized the importance of having a system in place to help those who have financial difficulties. As such, there is indeed a program in each one of those industrialized countries, in each one of those rich countries, to help the least fortunate in the nations. Here in the United States, as it is seen in this graph, there is not much that is put behind that program. Instituted a few decades ago in order to combat poverty here in the United States, the program has undergone a number of changes, but almost exclusively in the hope to get rid of it. The Republican Party in particular, its members have been adamant about getting rid of the welfare program. Keep in mind that many in the Republican Party, especially the legislators, those at the top, those who have the power to improve or to disband, have been almost exclusively campaigning in order to reduce, to decrease, or even to eliminate the welfare program. And one of the main reasons behind that is the fact that Republican Party in general has been under the impression that the principal beneficiaries of the welfare programs are black. Oh yes, you heard correctly. The main reason members of the legislative branch or even the executive branch have been so adamant about getting rid of the welfare program is because there is this misconception that blacks have been the beneficiary of the welfare program. As such, there has been a stampede. Every election, presidential election in particular, has seen a number of Republican candidates vowing to reform the welfare program. Translation, to make certain that it disappears. The reality, however, is a very different issue. As we have been talking about that for the past few days, it should be pretty obvious at this point that the main beneficiaries of the welfare program are actually white. We provided many examples of such, whether it's food stamp, now known as SNAP, or the Medicaid program. And in many areas, white have actually been taken advantage of this program twice the rate as black. But for reason that we will show you shortly, that this perception that blacks are the main beneficiaries have subsisted and continue to exist even up to this point. In 2017, even the current president of the United States was shockingly surprised to learn that blacks are not the only one who are on welfare, you know. And the president to exclaim, "Who then?" And he sounded genuine when he asked the question. Because for several decades now, almost 42 years to be exact, this myth has existed and continue to exist here in the United States. Now, there is no way in the world that any nation, no matter how rich, there will not be anyone who would be in a position or in a situation, in a predicament to need financial assistance. It is almost impossible. Even the Bible mentioned that we're always going to have the poor with us. Now, whether you believe in the Bible or not is totally irrelevant. It is a statement that's been said for many centuries, millennia even. And today, once again, the United States, the richest country in the world, has many individuals who fall under that category. Now, the problem is not so much the fact that there are people with financial difficulties, but rather the fact that the very individual, the legislators, the very people whose job is to help improve the lives of those who have financial difficulties are the people who are trying as best as humanly possible to prevent those individuals from coming out of poverty. And they do not do that out of ignorance. They do it because they continue to believe that the main beneficiaries are black, and as such, no harm done to make certain that they stay where they're at in poverty. It is sad, but nevertheless, it is a truth that we have seen in many areas here in the United States. If it is perceived that blacks in general, minority in particular, are either the beneficiary or are in the predicament, it's almost a given that the groups whose job is to help improve their lives or to help them get out of the situation would shrug it off. Although it is not within the discussion of the welfare program to talk about the fact that here in the United States, there is a systematic approach to make certain that there are very few opportunities for blacks. But because the welfare program has suffered so many cuts, in the hands of the legislators, it is important and it is critical, it is necessary to discuss this aspect of the problem in parallel with the welfare program. Now, let me make certain that everyone understands that the welfare program here in the United States, as in any industrialized country, is absolutely necessary, no matter who takes advantage of it, who benefits of this program. And as already explained, and I encourage you to take a look at previous video, which is currently located on the People Branch website, that provides ample information to show that indeed whites overwhelmingly are the main beneficiaries of the welfare program. But that's besides the point. It is necessary to elevate people, to lift people up from poverty. And there are plenty of examples of such. George Romney, who was Mitt Romney's father, was on welfare at some point. And had that program not existed, one can always ask the question, what would have become of the Romney's family? Ben Carson, who is now the Secretary of Housing, a renowned surgeon right here in the United States, his parent was on welfare. Barbara Bono was a challenger to Chris Christie for the governorship of New Jersey, was on welfare. Peter Drake was on welfare, now owner of the Drake Enterprise, a very successful businessman. So the idea of getting rid of the welfare program just because it is perceived that blacks are the main beneficiaries, not only is an idea that should be rejected outright, but it should be a shameful idea just because it is perceived that blacks are the main beneficiaries. In the midst of 2018, it is a sad and unfortunate predicament to be talking about the fact that legislators act on that very principle that if the beneficiaries are black, then we should get rid of it. Presidential candidate after presidential candidate have done exactly the same thing. Promise to their fan base that they will get rid of welfare because, people who are just lazy and don't want to do anything, quote, blacks, why should we help them? Just recently, not too long ago, Mitt Romney, of all people, whose parents actually benefit of the welfare program, was caught on video stating disparaging information about that very program. Remember the 47%. We don't have to worry about the 47% because they're just not going to vote for us. Those people on welfare, on food stamp, they're going to vote for the food stamp president, Barack Obama. It is really sad that there are so many people, and as I mentioned many times before, and I wrote several articles to that effect, that most in the Republican Party are either racist, bigots, or are just simply prejudiced. They can argue all they want, but there are too many examples that people at all levels within the party, they always act and react the same way whenever the subject matter is black. And it is no wonder that blacks have always had the shortest hand of the stick. That's not an accident, and it's not because they're lazy. It's not because they want to take advantage of any system. It's just because the system is set in such a way that They have to make a lot of effort in order to get out of any financial predicament they're in. They didn't choose to be in that predicament. The system has been set that way, from slavery to making certain that they have a hard time, a difficult time, almost an impossible time to get a job, to get ahead. Even within the system itself, they make it very difficult, very hard. So needless to say that the system is rigged towards blacks. When we return, we will provide you with information to show you that the people, the two principal myths that have been circulated as almost a tale story, a fairy tale in the country. Myth number one, that the principal beneficiaries of the welfare program are black. And the second myth is people on welfare are just living the life. And that angers those who have to work hard, who have to face cold weather, the heat, the rain, to go to work and to take care of individuals who simply sit and eating well, steak, caviar, drinking martini on the back of those who are working so hard. How did we get here? No, blacks didn't create it. The systematic racism in America have made it hard for blacks, and yet they have the pride that sometimes keep them further back. We'll do a simple recap as to the beneficiaries of the welfare program, and we will proceed to show you that the people on welfare are not living the life. We'll be right back. Join me here on the Fourth Branch at 10:30 a.m. every Saturday. And every weekday at 2 p.m. This is the Fourth Branch.
Common sense in a world of chaos.
This program will resume in just a moment.
Don't go anywhere. The Fourth Branch program will return in just a moment.
After reading several books based on presidents and on Obama specifically, I found that they're typically partisan. The Obama legacy targets the heart of the issue by giving credit to the president where it's due, but definitely coming down hard on Obama on his bigger failures, like his handling of the Syrian crisis.
If you are in college, going to college, you are an educator, a faculty member, or someone with interest in government or politics, The Obama Legacy is definitely a book to read.
My professor recommended The Obama Legacy.
A friend actually recommended The Obama Legacy.
I would highly recommend this book for anyone, whether for academic use or leisure reading.
I would recommend this book to anyone out there searching for an impartial and unbiased look into Barack Obama's tenure as president.
I would definitely recommend this book as a good read for both liberals and conservatives.
There is a woman in Chicago. That woman has 80 names, 30 addresses, and 12 social security cards. She is covered under Medicaid. She get food stamp and she collect welfare under each of those names. And the total amount of money that she gets is $150,000. Not bad for someone on welfare. No wonder Republicans are so angry about people on welfare. I would be too. That woman is known as the welfare queen. Indeed, she is, wouldn't you say? Someone who has 80 names, 30 addresses, 12 social security cards, has Medicaid, getting food stamp, and collect a total of $150,000. That's a pretty good amount of money. But wait a minute, how did she manage to get 80 names, 30 addresses? Any idea how that happened? I mean, that's not even in today's world, in today's, if you think about it, it is not easy. Yes, you can make up names. I assume if you put yourself to it to make name, you can make 80 names, 100, 200 if you like. That's not a problem. But how do you manage to get 30 addresses? This has to be extremely creative. That welfare queen, I'd like to meet that queen. Has to be very creative, because having to get 30 addresses, if you think about it for just a moment, it requires a lot. Not just saying that someone has 30 addresses, because even if you were to say someone gonna take a P.O. box, let's say for sake of argument, 30 P.O. box, that's a lot. And you have to pay for each one of them. Remember that. They're not free. The smallest P.O. box, if I'm not mistaken, is $150 or more, depending on where you get it, which post office you get it. But even getting 30 P.O. box, 30 boxes out of post offices, is not an easy feat. When they take your information, it's actually beyond possibility. But we'll go along with the story. That woman managed something that's beyond possibility. But she did. She is the welfare queen after all. Now that queen has been cruising in the American culture for a very long time, 42 years to be exact. And for as long as she has been around collecting that much money, and I'm assuming she's still living under the same names, those 80 names, because she needs them to continue to collect. But we have had a lot of difficulties meeting with her, because we really wanted to interview her and try to figure out how she managed that. But she's been slick, she's been very elusive, and we have put a lot of resources behind finding the welfare queen. Now, I have to warn you that that queen was spotted by 42 years ago by Ronald Reagan. And we know that because at the time that he was running for the presidency of the United States, at every single rally, he told that story. So people then knew about the welfare queen. and it so happened that the welfare queen live in Chicago. So we kind of have at least an idea where to look. And we have talked to so many people in Chicago, and we must say that we feel that we have failed, because yes, Chicago is a big city, but we talked to many different people in many different places in Chicago to try to at least see if anybody may have some information that can guide us to talk to that welfare queen. We never did. And of course, we came up empty-handed, where we concluded that welfare queen doesn't exist. Until this year, we got a break. I must say that I was floored, because we thought that we would not be in any position to talk about the welfare queen again and to present any kind of proof, because we've been saying that that welfare queen is a myth. And if you remember yesterday, we said that welfare queen is as real as Bigfoot. So we thought that that was really over, until, of course, we met with someone who must have had more resources than us and decide to put as many people out there looking for the queen, and finally found the queen. That individual wrote an article that's on May 2018. That's this year, just a few months ago. Wrote that article in which that individual finally found the welfare queen. Now, I must say that those people that the individual found is not so much the actual welfare queen, but a bunch of other people who may have copied the welfare queen. Shocking windfall. That's exactly what the welfare queen had. Windfall. $150,000 doing nothing. Just have to create 80 names, get 30 addresses, and that's all that the welfare queen needed. But according to that individual, who happened to have come across a number of other people, so which means we're getting closer to the welfare queen, because those individuals happen to have had the luxury of getting as much or close, at least half, to what the welfare queen was getting. Well, actually, not half, 1/3. Now, I tell you all that story because you have to understand, when Ronald Reagan presented that picture to his audience, who, by the way, I must add, believed the story. How you see how outrageous the story is? Even by today's standard, almost impossible to happen. And yet, people who actually went to those rallies to listen to Ronald Reagan talking about the welfare queen, actually, most of those people believe the story. How can we possibly know that? We weren't there. Well, the story is still here today. It's still being used by politicians, especially those running for the presidency of the United States. And mind you, that the current president in the White House believes that story. So we know that Republicans in general believe that there is indeed a Bigfoot, especially if in the United States, if whatever that situation is, it so happened to be put on the back of the blacks, Republican would believe it without flinching. We already know that. Well, I should say most Republican. Now, the part of the discussion that I want to show you quickly today, because we've been talking about the welfare program and we give you enough proof, and if you weren't paying attention, if you did not watch the program yesterday, I strongly suggest you go to People Branch YouTube channel to take a look at the welfare program that we've been discussing, and I believe it was part 5, if I'm not mistaken. It was part 5 that discussed at length the beneficiaries of the welfare program. Now we're going to show you the second myth that in the Republican circle that has been construed as Bible truth. You listen to Fox, anybody in the Republican Party that has a microphone, the pundit that's talking about the welfare program, and it's not just those people, but legislators actually believe to the point that when any one of them join the campaign trail to run for the office of the presidency, this is what they use as the springboard to rally people. Welfare, blacks, rally people against welfare, that's easy. Especially in the Republican Party, because most are already predisposed to believe blacks are the majority of people on welfare. But most importantly, they're also predisposed to want to get rid of something that blacks are taking advantage of. So that's not a difficult thing at all for people, for candidates in the Republican Party running for the office of the presidency. It's not a difficult thing at all. In fact, for 42 years, that's what they've been using, and they've been pretty successful at it. Latest was Mitt Romney caught on videotape saying exactly that untrue story. Now, it is fair to say that they're ignorant enough to believe the story, because we can say that when we look at the video, Mitt Romney wasn't talking to a crowd outside. He was talking to donors in a room and was telling them that this is the way it is. So, which means Mitt Romney himself believed the story and was talking to a group of people who, I guess, frankly, he think or believe that those people also know and believe the same story. And that's why the story has been carried on over and over and over up to today. Now, the second part is, of course, the very fact that they believe that people on welfare are living the life. Now, here's food for thought. Number one, keep in mind that people on welfare, people who apply for welfare, have to apply in the state that they live in. So, in other words, you cannot live in Massachusetts and go to apply for welfare in New York. Cannot happen. Never that way. That's number one. Now, I want you to pay close attention, because there has been enough misinformation provided to you, and that keeps you misinformed to the point that in discussion with Republicans, sometimes I feel maybe it's a lost cause. Shouldn't even try to educate people who don't want to be educated, because they listen to ignorant people like Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Tucker Carlson, Fox and Friends, Bill O'Reilly, Rush Limbaugh and company. You get the gist. People who have no idea how the program works, or who may have come across an individual who abuses the program. Because, as I mentioned before, that there is that possibility that you may have one individual who have abused the program, and they come across that individual and they feature that individual as the program. and it becomes a Bible truth that the welfare program, this is what people are doing. They sit at home, cross their legs, drinking martini, eating caviar, steak, and they're having the time of their life. And you, the poor you, going to work and taking care of those bombs. The reality of things, very different. First, in order for you to receive any financial assistance from the welfare program, you have to apply in your state. One. And second, you have to be eligible. You have to meet the criteria. What does that mean? The Department of Health and Human Services sets what we call a criteria for people to receive public assistance. What you're currently looking at on your screen was published this year by the Department of Health and Human Services. Now, if you are a single individual and you're making $12,140 and you can make up to $15,000, $15,700 and some numbers like this, I believe, that number, $15,781, if you're making money, if you're making $12,140 or less, up to $15,781, according to the Health and Human Services, you are eligible to get assistance. Now, I don't know about you, but when I crunch those numbers, someone who is making $12,140, now that individual, here it is, that individual is making $1,012 per month. Yes, you read correctly, per month. Now, for the person who makes $15,781, which is the highest range, that person is making $1,316 per month. That's what that individual is bringing home. Well, actually, I shouldn't say bringing home. It's the higher range is the gross, and the net is what the person is bringing home. So someone is bringing home for the month $1,012. Now, I don't know how you define living the life, but someone who's bringing $1,012 cannot even rent an apartment. Even rooms in New York City, you cannot rent a room with $1,012. So let alone rent an apartment. So I don't know, when you're listening to people at Fox who's telling you that those people are living the life, where exactly do they get their information? But this is reality. In order for you to get financial assistance from in the welfare program, this is the criteria. If you make more than that, you're not eligible. And you cannot lie because, well, those information are readily available. They can pull that up from IRS. So when you hear ignorant at Fox telling you those stories, you can rest assured they are 100% ignorant of the facts. Because you don't just go to a welfare office and say, I'm here to apply for welfare, and then they say, go ahead, fill out that application, and then you get approved. It doesn't work that way. First, you fill out an application, you provide all the information they ask you, that include your social security, your name. That's why I'm having a hard time also understanding where that welfare queen, how that welfare queen managed to get 80 names, because she doesn't just need 80 names. She doesn't just need 12 social security cards as said in that story by Ronald Reagan. She needs 80 social security numbers, because each name has to have a social security number. So you see how the stories start falling apart. When you hear someone telling you a story, they rely on your ignorance, on your naiveness, on your gullibility in order for that story to continue. And the reason that story continues to exist today is because most people in the Republican Party, they are naive and gullible, and also because the story is told around blacks, they are very inclined to believe it. That's the problem. So in order for you to get any assistance, this is what it's supposed to be. Now, single individual cannot make more than $1,000 a month. And if you are a family of 4, you cannot get more than $2,092. In other words, $2,100. Now, I don't know what does that mean to live the life, but it is impossible to imagine that someone who is getting $1,000 a month is living the life. But hold your horse, because that may not be the problem. The problem may be, according to those people who are telling you how well those people are living, is not in the money they're making. It's the money they're receiving. Aha! Now, I finally cracked the code. So yes, they're not making a lot of money. They may not be working. They may be making less than what's required, but where they are milking the system is in the amount of money that they're receiving. I never thought of that. Maybe that's what those people at Fox have found out, and they banging on the table, how could the welfare program do that to us? So the people collecting the welfare benefit, according to Fox, Rush Limbaugh, Bill O'Reilly, and company. It's not in the eligibility part, because obviously they have to show proof that they're eligible, right? It is in the collecting part. That's the part we have to take a look at. Because, hey, if you make $12,140 or less, you automatically eligible to receive public assistance, welfare. Now, I must say, both Alaska and Hawaii, there is a slight difference in the amount that they consider eligible. It's not really that much, $1,000 different. For instance, in Hawaii, if you are making $13,000 and so much or lower, you automatically classified as eligible for public assistance. Not a big deal, really very small difference. So it really doesn't matter. So the amount that I was showing you, which is provided by the Department of Health and Human Services, that is an amount that's revised every year. So the Department of Health and Human Services put out a table that tells the welfare office, the program, that these are the numbers to look at in order for anyone to be considered as eligible for any assistance, any public assistance. Now, eligibility-wise, you can clearly tell that this is no way possible that any of those people are living the life, because they're making less than minimum wage. Someone single who is making $1,012 per month, not week, per month, not per paycheck, per month. $1,012 per month. But if you tune into Fox, those people are living the life. Then that's why you should get angry at the fact that you have to work so hard to take care of people who are just living the life. Don't you just hate that? When I come back, I'll show you exactly why those people at Fox, Sean Hannity, Ingram, Laura Ingram, Tucker Carlson and company, Fox and Friends and company, Rush Limbaugh, Bill O'Reilly, they all up in arms because, gee, there is a system. Not only overwhelmingly the beneficiaries are black, but those people, they just living the life. How could we let that happen? How could the country let that happen? Don't go anywhere. When I come back, I will show you how much those people are getting. That's why that gets people to be so upset. In fact, when you see those numbers, you too might want to be on welfare because, hey, if the government is taking care of individuals who are eligible for welfare, why don't we just work as little as possible, make as little as possible, and then collect? Because those people, they just living the life. We'll be right back. Ignorance, they say, is the biggest threat to any democracy. Indeed, it is. Plato, a Greek philosopher born in 427 BC, said that ignorance is the root and stem of all evil. Today, members in the Republican Party wear ignorance as a badge of honor, while the rest of the country watch powerless the destruction of a country which was once the envy of the world. The media is the enemy of the country, said Donald Trump. The Democrat legislators are obstructionists for not going along with everything the president wants. The Department of Justice is biased for investigating corruption in the Trump administration. This is the United States of America. Any question?
I'm telling you, Michael Jordan himself was right here in my McDonald's. I fixed him the very first McJordan special. Right, Bill. I did. I took a quarter-pound of pure beef, smoked bacon, cheese, and some of my favorite barbecue sauce, and I named it the McJordan Special.
Bill, the sandwich, definitely great.
Yeah, but you got the cooling with that story.
But it's true.
How you doing, Bill?
Hi, Michael. Michael.
The McJordan Special, for a limited time.
We are not going to turn over the conservative movement to a con artist who is telling people one thing but has spent 40 years sticking it to working Americans and now claims to be their champion. We are not going to turn over the conservative movement to a con artist who is telling people one thing but has spent 40 years sticking it to working Americans and now claims to be their champion.
What if hip-hop never existed? Do you think there'd be as many heads screaming out, stop snitching? What if Adam and Eve ain't eat the fruit? You think we'd be able to see the truth?
I was talking about why people on welfare, why we who go to work feel so angry about people on welfare living the life while we facing the cold weather, the heat, the rain, and those people, they just sit at home living the life, eating steak, caviar, drinking martini, and yet we have to take care of those people because they receive. Remember, they have to be eligible. There is no way around that. No matter what you hear, anyone at those places whether it's Fox or any one of those places telling you any story, it is just that, a story. Because you have to go to a welfare office, you have to apply, you have to be eligible. And the eligibility, I just showed it to you. If you are a single person, you have to make $12,140 or less, which means you're making $1,000 a month or less. Not a lot of money. $1,000 a month, not per pay period, per month. 30 days, 4 weeks. That's what you make, $1,000. For you to be eligible for any sort of public assistance. Number one. And number two, it has to be in the state you live. So you cannot cheat. You have to go to the state where you live to apply. And when you apply, you have to provide your name, your social security. That can only be used once. So no matter what you hear any of those individuals telling you, they're just lying to you. Your social security go into a system, and that social security say you are currently receiving public assistance. You cannot go to another state and use that same social security. You cannot go to another state and use a fake social security. So it is near impossible when you hear those people talking, it is near impossible for you to cheat. In the past, since the system wasn't as sophisticated, yes, you could have several different social security and apply. But now the system is centralized, meaning if you are in California, now if you were to live in Massachusetts and you go to California and try to apply again, the minute that they put your social security, your name may not match. You may try to use a different name, but the minute they put that social security, it tells them that, you're already in the system. It's called fraud. You will be arrested. In fact, if you're receiving benefit, those benefits will be automatically canceled, and you will be arrested for fraud, and you will have to pay back that money. So when you hear those ignorant individuals at Fox or any of those Republican party telling you about people abusing the welfare system, it is 100% lies. Yes, as I mentioned, there are a few people who are doing that, but those most likely are things of the past, because today it's near impossible to do that. Now, let's find out why those people want to stay on welfare for so long, because it looks like they're milking the system. They're getting so much from the welfare program. That's why they simply don't want to get out of it. Let's find out. Maybe we too can learn something and see if we just work for the bare minimum amount of salary so that we too can take advantage of that. Because I heard that there is a welfare queen that's living the life. Why not? Now, we were looking at that particular, here it is. Take a look at what, when you apply for welfare assistance, if you get approved, take a look at what you're getting. If you are a single individual, you're making $1,000 per month or less. Again, listen carefully. $1,000 a month. 1 month, you make $1,000. For a year, you make $12,000. That's all. If you are a single individual and you're making $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month, and you go and look for public assistance, guess what you get for 1 month? $192. Gee, I cannot believe those people are getting so much. We should all line up to be on welfare. My God, wouldn't you want to be on welfare too? $192 per month. Remember, you're making only $1,000 a month. 1 month, 30 days, 4 weeks, you're making just $1,000 a month. I live in New York. If you live in New York, You cannot even rent a room with that money. But if you go apply for public assistance program, you're receiving $192 per month in as public assistance. And that's what those ignorant at Fox, those ignorant in the Republican Party, that's what they keep telling you to make you feel so riled up about people who are on welfare, why you should want those people out, because they're living the life. Single individual making $1,000 a month and receiving $192, just $200 in public assistance. Now, that doesn't count Medicaid, which the person will receive for free as well, because if you are at poverty level, which is what the Department of Health and Human Services, this is the classification. If you are at poverty level, then you receive free Medicaid assistance. So that doesn't, the $192 is for food, for you to buy basic necessity. And that's what Republican legislators are so gung-ho about getting rid of. Every time that I think about that, it always boggles the mind that the very people who claim to be Christian, the very people who claim to be Christian, the very individual who want to be called Christian are the very one who want to actually make the lies, refuse to lend a hand to those who are in trouble. It's mind-boggling to understand that. Now they bash the liberal because, well, the liberals, they're sinners. As a matter of fact, sometimes I feel even ashamed as a Christian because I just cannot compute in my head how someone, how a group that wants so much to identify as Christian can be so indifferent, so callous, so now, if you are on welfare, especially if you are unemployed, and that's another bit of information that you ought to understand, that when you hear those ignorant people on those networks talking about those things, they have no idea how the system works. They just take one story of some fool that they pay to come and talk and spew garbage on the air so that they can rile up people about the program because they just don't like it. In fact, helping people on welfare is not their thing. Well, they are Christian, but hey, they don't care. They just want to get people off welfare because, you know, they have this preconceived mind. Blacks are the major beneficiaries. That's really the argument. They're not going to tell you that because it's not politically correct to say those kind of things anymore, even in the era of Trump. So they have to have a way to explain to you why they're so much against it. A few weeks ago, Mitch McConnell proposed the way to pay down the national debt is to cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and of course, the welfare benefit, the welfare program, to cut on the welfare program. So it's okay to give a welfare check, a huge welfare check to the rich, because that's pretty much what the $1.5 trillion that they borrowed did. They take 1.3 out of that and they gave it to people, to large corporations and wealthy individuals who already have plenty. But what they propose is to cut the benefit of those who actually need those benefits. And as I mentioned to you before, and I'll say it again, if you are receiving Social Security and you are on Medicare, you're not getting a handout from the government. Because when you were working, you paid towards Social Security, you paid toward Medicare. There is a line item on your pay stub that shows that. So that's not a handout from the government. So don't let Republican legislature make you feel belittled by the fact that you're getting a Social Security check or you're getting Medicare benefit. Don't let Republicans do that, because that has been their forte in general, as far as the people, the masses, as far as the comfort. They don't care about the constituent. As far as your comfort, that's not their problem. They did not have any problem borrowing $1.5 trillion to give to the wealthy, but they seem to be okay to come back and try to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the very benefit that we, the people, need. So Republicans have been overwhelmingly, Republican legislators, that is, for reason that seems to be completely that's beyond logic. They always do things that hurt the constituent. Of course, they put it in a way for the constituent to feel great. We're going to give you a tax cut. Seriously? Now, for those people, because there were a few Republican constituents who seems to be completely oblivious as to what really going on with the $1.5 trillion that were borrowed, because those people receive either a $40 or $60 extra on their paycheck, and who wouldn't like that? And they actually go after me for saying what I'm saying today, because they completely ignorant of what really is going on. Now, let me say it one more time so that you can grasp what those $1.5 trillion do. First, there is a $1.2 trillion out of that. Actually, is 1.3 because it's 1.275. $1.3 trillion, the huge chunk that you see on the screen, the blue part. That part go to large corporation and wealthy individual. The green part is a little bit smaller because it's not really 0.3, it's 0.2. The smaller chunk, the green chunk, that's the one that Republicans use to put the $40 or the $60 you see on your paycheck, and that you feel so good about, and that you feel, oh gee, that's great. Hey, who wouldn't like that? But here's the problem. First of all, the money was borrowed. In case you don't know what that means if you borrow, you have to return. And when you borrow with interest. Get that? So the $40 or the $60 that you're seeing on your paycheck is not yours. It was borrowed by the Republican legislature because they wanted to give a welfare check to the rich, so they have to have something to give to you so that they can appease you and make you feel, oh, you're getting a tax cut. And this is not a speculation on my part. It is in the legislation that they crafted. So you're getting $40 or $60 on your paycheck and you feel, yay, I'm getting a tax cut. No, you are not getting a tax cut. The money was borrowed. That means you have to return it. It was borrowed with interest. That means you have to return it with interest. But here's the kicker. You're only getting, we, the people, the masses, only getting 10% of that money. The 90% were given as a welfare check to large corporations. But here's the kicker. So don't celebrate because you're seeing $40 or $60 on your paycheck. But here's the kicker. We only getting 10%. Guess what? We, the people, are responsible for the full 100% of that money, which means we, the people, owe $1.5 trillion. Yes, you heard correctly. That's how the legislation was crafted. Republicans, overwhelmingly, there was no Democrat involved. They decided to go and borrow $1.5 trillion. They took 1.3 out of that and gave as a welfare check to the rich, to the large corporation. And they only give us 10% of the money borrowed. But we, the people, have a tax bill of $1.5 trillion. But wait a minute, you might ask, how come I'm receiving $40 or $60? I'm glad you asked. If you ever, you may have not, but I have, you go to buy a car or you go to borrow a large sum of money and there is a promotion that's going on and the bank say, you don't have to pay for a year. In other words, well, in the case of the car, they may say for the next 3 months, you don't have to pay a penny. So you borrow the money, you owe the money, but for a year, you don't have to pay a penny. In fact, there are program, furniture, mattress, Sleepy's previous name of mattress firm, I believe that's the current name today. They had promotion where you buy from them and they give you a full year before you start paying, which means you purchase, you owe, but if you were to be looking at your current situation, you're not disbursing a single penny. But keep in mind, not paying a single penny for a year doesn't mean anything because the money is still accruing interest. Which means the $1.5 trillion that was borrowed is getting bigger. So the $40 or the $60 that you're seeing on your paycheck that you're so happy that, hey, what is that guy talking about? That's why Mitch McConnell is out there trying to cut on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and all public assistance programs to pay down that debt. Because when you borrow, you have to return the money with interest. So when you there clamoring that, oh, what that guy talking about? I have an extra $40 or $60 on my paycheck. Now, which brings me back to the welfare program we're talking about. The United States of America like all other rich country, all other industrialized country, need and must keep the welfare program, because that's a program that helps lift people out of poverty. It's not a program that should be eliminated. In fact, it's a program that should be strengthened, that should have more money poured into it, because we need to lift people out of poverty faster, quicker. Because someone who is making $1,000 a month, that you're only giving $200, it's going to take a while for that individual to get out of poverty. But that's not the reason. That's not the main reason that I'm looking for a reform on the welfare system, is so that the people who seek public assistance, they are treated humanly, they are treated with respect and with dignity. Why? Because they only in a predicament, they didn't cause that predicament, and they don't want to be in that predicament, and they don't want to stay in that predicament. Number two, most of the veterans, the people who serve our country, who are homeless today, who are living on the street, scavenging for food, begging, the reason that they shun the welfare office is because of exactly that. That they humiliated, they disrespected, and yet those are the people who gave their all for the country. So they prefer to be on the street begging for money. To me, I find that humiliating, but they find being humiliated at the office even worse. That's why they shun the welfare office. Just because someone have financial difficulty is not a reason to treat that person with disrespect. We need that kind of reform in the welfare office. Not to get rid of the welfare program, because the country needs the welfare program. A number of people who have today served society in a very big way. George Romney, Mitt Romney's father, was on welfare. He was lifted out of poverty, and guess what? He served the country well. His son now is a senator from Utah. Ben Carson, his mother was on welfare. He became one of the most renowned surgeons in the United States of America. Peter Drake was on welfare. Now he has Drake Enterprise, a very successful business that hires hundreds of people. Bruce Springsteen was on welfare. He became a singer, now out of poverty. He has been entertaining us, become a productive element of society. So yes, the welfare system is necessary in the United States of America to lift people out of poverty. It's only those ignorant at Fox, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Tucker Carlson, Fox and Friends, and a bunch of others, obviously. Bill O'Reilly, who is now someplace else, Rush Limbaugh, and a bunch of people in the Republican Party who like to think of themselves as Christian, and yet they're the one who are very indifferent to people's plight. Those are the people pushing misinformation about the welfare program. We here in the United States need the welfare program to get people out of poverty, to lift them out of poverty. The majority of the people on welfare are white. The majority of the people being lifted out of poverty are white. According to the latest report, 2016, 6.8 million white were lifted out of poverty compared to just 2.8 million blacks. So yes, the program is necessary in the country and needs to be strengthened, need to be reformed, not the equivalent for reduce the amount of money poured into it, not the equivalent of reduce the amount of public assistance, but rather strengthen it so that not only people who need public assistance can get better help, but also our veteran would stop shunning getting help when they come back from defending the country. This is needed. This is, after all, the United States of America. I'll be right back. Join me here on the 4th branch at 10:30 a.m. every Saturday. And every weekday at 2 p.m. This is the 4th branch.
Common sense in a world of chaos.
This program will resume in just a moment. In 1996, a small network by the name of Fox News was launched with just 17 million viewers. Today, with over 100 million people watching regularly, Fox has become the greatest threat to our democracy, constantly bombarding the airwaves with false information, distortion of facts, and outright lies, presenting to its audience as news. Fox has created an army of blissful ignorance. According to a recent survey, 82% of Fox viewers are ignorant of facts and the truth. To keep millions of people in ignorance not only prevents democracy from flourishing, but it also clears the path to authoritarianism, to dictatorship. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity." Let me finish by saying that democracy cannot survive in an environment where truth and facts do not matter. At Fox, truth and facts do not matter. Indeed, democracy in America is in jeopardy. It is a crisis the country can no longer ignore. I do thank you for spending the time with me. If you have any question, or if you have a topic that you would like us to address, to research and talk about it, please do not hesitate to contact us, because we do need to inform you about different aspects of different social political issues. We are not affiliated with any political party. We do not have a political agenda either. Our main objective, our main goal is to achieve a more perfect union. But we know the biggest obstacle to that is ignorance. Yes, ignorance is the biggest obstacle to achieving a more perfect union, because there is indeed a very large group in the country which has made it a matter of campaign to just disinform, misinform, mislead their audiences. And we're hoping that with this program, it's not soundbite, it's not political jargon, but information that are verifiable, information that you can use to make decision. Yes, you can make wrong decision regardless, but at least you will be making decision based on information that are accurate, but not misinformation. But we're hoping that those information will bring you and us a little bit closer to achieving a more perfect union. I hope to see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. when we continue the program, Welfare for the Rich. Have a good afternoon. The Fourth Branch Podcast is brought to you in collaboration with the People Branch publication, which can be found on the People Branch website, located at peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org website, in which you will find a number of very interesting articles. My name is Mike Duchesne, MD for short. I hope you have a great afternoon or a great evening, whichever it happens to be. Hopefully you can join me again next time for another interesting episode of this podcast. That was the Fourth Branch, live from New York. Good day.